Growing Up Nightclub. Chapter 2, Jimmy.
Now Mom, after a short fling with a guy who worked for the railroad, remarried to a fellow named Tim. Tim was from Birmingham, Alabama, and was a bricklayer. He was a tall, fairly stocky man with gray-winged hair. He had 2 kids, Jimmy and Michelle. Jimmy, who was 3 years older than me, lived with us while Michelle lived back in Alabama with her mom. Jimmy had a heavy metal rock and roll look. He was tall and slender with long black hair that hung past his face and down to his shoulders. Mom and Tim thought Jimmy was a rock star and had no idea he was into drinking, smoking, and drugs. The truth was, he was a conniving liar and a bad influence on my brothers, who thought he was cool and looked up to him. Jimmy introduced me to rock and roll and MTV, so I will give him that, but only that. I came home from a hike one summer morning to an overwhelming smell of gasoline. A quick investigation led me to the hall bathroom door, which was closed and locked. After a few seconds of pleading and pounding on the door with no response, I broke the door open to find my youngest brother, Kevin, who was 11 years old at the time, and his friend from the neighborhood, both passed out in the bathtub with a jug of gasoline they'd been sniffing to get high. I quickly dragged their limp bodies out of the house to get them to fresh air. After what seemed like an eternity of me lightly slapping them on the face and begging them to wake up, they both finally began to come to. Thank God, that is how bad of an influence Jimmy was on my brothers. Who else would teach an 11-year-old to sniff gasoline to get high? Little did I know that later that day, my life was about to change. After Mom got home from work that afternoon, I approached her and told her I needed to talk to her. I was breaking a promise I made to Kevin that I would not tell on him. But I could not let this go on any longer. Hell, he almost died for Christ's sake. I told her what had happened that morning and what a horrible influence Jimmy was having on my brothers. She acted as if she didn't believe me. I followed her to the bedroom where Kevin was playing with his Legos, and she asked him if this was true. He was scared to tell Mom what had happened in fear of being sent away to some kid's rehab facility. At least that is what he told me. He just kept telling her he didn't know what I was talking about. I couldn't believe it. I stared him down while gritting my teeth, but kept my mouth shut. I did make him a promise I wouldn't tell on him after all. Mom assumed I was just making things up to get Kevin in trouble, which I did do from time to time. She looked at me, shook her head in disappointment, and said,
"I can't believe you,"
as she walked away. She must have told Tim my story because later that evening, Tim confronted Jimmy about the incident in front of all of us in the middle of the living room. As usual, Jimmy denied having anything to do with it, and was lying to their face as I stood in disbelief of what was unfolding in front of me. My little brother could have died because of this creep, and my mom seemed to be taking Tim and Jimmy's side rather than standing up for her own children. I could feel the anger and hate swelling up inside me. I ran to my bedroom and grabbed my 12-gauge shotgun from under my bed. I jacked around into the chamber and charged out into the hallway where Tim and Jimmy were now standing. I immediately pinned Jimmy against the wall with the barrel of the gun. "I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker," I shouted at Jimmy. I felt my finger starting to put pressure on the trigger.
"Now everybody just calm down,"
Tim shouted as my mom started screaming.
"Jeff, don't do anything you're going to regret for the rest of your life, son,"
Tim said to me. "I'm not your son," I cried out as raging anger turned to tears rolling down my face. Jimmy's eyes were as big as tennis balls, and I think he may have pissed his pants. "Tell them the truth or I'll turn your chest into a donut," I screamed at Jimmy. Just then I felt someone approaching me from the back bedroom. It was my middle brother, Mark, who is only 14 months younger than me. He said,
"Jeff, don't do this, man. If you do, you'll go to jail for life, and for what, this piece of shit?"
Mark had a point. Why throw my life away for this manipulative, lying trash? As I quickly assessed the situation, my mind switched from blowing a hole through this asshole to how am I going to get out of this? A few moments passed. "You're right, watch him," I commanded Mark. I quickly pulled the gun away from Jimmy's chest and pointed it towards Tim and my mom while Mark stood guard over Jimmy, who had fallen to the floor sobbing. "Get back," I yelled as I made my way down the hall and toward the front door in the living room.
"Jeffrey, you need to calm down. Put that gun down."
My mom screamed as she and Tim were backing up with their hands in the air. "I am calm, just stay out of my way," I screamed at them. I opened the front door and stepped outside, then slammed the door shut and took off running toward the woods. I made my way to an old fort we had built in the forest several years prior, which was about a mile away from the house. I sat there contemplating what had transpired. Will they call the cops? Am I going to go to jail for attempted murder? I decided I had better stay put for the night and reassess in the morning.
End of Chapter 2.